Today's session, we're going to be merging some inversions and spine care and hip work. So I want us to start with a little bit of lift with the legs. And let this medley be very comforting for your the quality of pressure in the hips. So I'm going to suggest that you have a wall space and a blanket and just a quarter fold. So it's really a low fold. And if you want to go with legs up the wall without anything under your pelvis, perfect, right? So this is how we'll go. If you need a bolster and more intensity, you can always start with a bolster near the wall. But I'm going to suggest there's a little space, there's a gap between the bolster or the blanket, which I'm going to use against the wall. So I've got a little space between, not right up to it like we do sometimes at the end. I have a block and a ball nearby for the beginning set. And I'm going to get up to that blanket. This way it's not so close that it's difficult for me to kind of sit to it. So I'm going to lean away from the wall, then sit my tush up on the blanket. Right, so my rear is to the wall. I'm going to get to the edge, one edge of the blanket, one side, and then I'm going to stretch out my arm and then roll so my legs flip upside down. So taking gravity's basically off the spine. Okay, and there's no gravity pull on my spine at all right now. And that's why I'm using not very much height. So if I had the bolster, it might add a little bit of intelligence to the inversion. But let's start with not the most intelligent of inversions. Haha. Okay, so have the focus of the feet close-ish. Have the pouring out of fluid, right, which is going to be what? Blood, lymph, internally towards the belly, right, the belly organs, and then back to the throat. If you want to begin your breath work in this beginning phase or breath play, you can place it, a sandbag across the ribs, but fairly central. So it's not up at the sternum, but if you were to push down, you can have the sand across. So you feel like there's these lobes. Okay, there are lobes in the body. There's lots of lobes. So when we feel like the feeling of the lobes, not nodes, right? So the feeling of the lungs. And then as I press back, I kind of start to elongate through the back line and let the arms opening out. And let's just give ourselves a brief period to settle and land in our body and reverse that flow back to the brain, the heart. And if the sand idea just feels too much complicated pressure when you're starting the breath focus, you can always shed it and just see what that's like. I kind of like to try both and then make my decision in the moment. And clarify where the spine is curving. So as you in-breath, you can feel the ribs expansively. You can feel that interesting amount of traction where the tailbone presses into the blanket or the firm ground that you might be on. So it's almost as if you can access your tailbone this way different if you don't have that much height under you, because you can press down like you drag the sense of the spine, and then it creates that lovely arch of the back. So nourish the body with a few more rounds of breath. If you do a little bit of rocking on the tailbone, so it's like this most subtle kitty calf, I like to call it, not cat cow, because it's very subtle and small and kind of baby-like arching, and then just sliding back. So I do a little bit of rocking motion from tailbone pressing. On my inhale, ribs expand. And then as I exhale, I just guide the movement back to the lungs, upper back. Take a few more moments. It's a little confusing, right? It's just like my lower back area. I'm pressing onto the blanket, arching, ribs, in-breath. And as I out-breath, I just rock back so the circulation goes to the upper spine and actually all the way to my skull. It's unusual because we don't have a blanket under our head unless you need one. You can always add one. There's always the option. You do what feels better for you, but this way I can bring all that circulation to my brain create the arch in my brain stem that I so dearly would love to keep as I get older versus the rounding. Okay, now just slide the feet down. You can step them apart. You can bring the soles of the feet together. This seems like it would be a yoga thing to do, but it's fine if you step them apart and you feel how it lands in the sacroiliac area. So basin of spine to the sides. What feels better for you? Right? Is it soles of the feet? Is it feet apart? That's where it is for me. Feel that rocking back. Feel that you press into that back space to create more space in it, right? By decompressing. Okay, now, if you got sand on, you're going to slide it away, and you're just going to ever so slightly scoot back. Now, if you're at a wall space, this might be kind of easy. You just shift a little side to side, and then you're far enough back that you still can feel your feet at the wall easily, but you're not on the blanket. And if you do have a bolster you've been using, just go to a wall space, have your feet up at the wall, so you have this right angle. And then as you push into your feet, a little wider than hips distance, and they can turn out. This is a really interesting one for the pelvis. You can have a little turnout where you can follow all those rules and guidelines we have in bridge pose. The CCNRs of good bridging. Okay, I'm going to push into my feet. I'm going to lift up my hips, and I'm going to stretch the arms overhead. So I do put circulation to my upper vertebrae, and then I'm just going to lower down the spine. Okay, so take that in breath. When the hands are down, you're going to in breath, lift the hips up, and press firm, creating that circulation into the bones, that resistance. And then you get to decide how far up you go into the spine, right? So we are going to start to kind of cap it off at a certain point where we just go up just a certain amount to get a bridge pose. So next time you come downwards, feel the angle of kind of width widening into the back, right? The thicker vertebrae. Okay, notice that when that presses down. And then there's that little pelvis. And then take a block. And we're going to slide it under, I would say go low height in the beginning. So as I push, I'm going to lift my hips up and slide the block under the back of my pelvis. And first things first, I just let the feet remain the same at the wall. And I try to just establish where the arch is here in my lumbar. And there are some little zones that I feel some slight gripping. So I want to take the necessary time to settle my upper back, open out the elbows. The elbows are wide. Armpit area just releases back and feels the arch even in the shoulders. And door number one is here. You don't have to go further. You can even just stretch the legs up the wall if you like. And door number two, you'll go one leg at a time straight up in towards legs up bridge, right? So I've got the feet lifted, the legs lifted, and a little bit of separation because it does kind of make sense for the pelvis when you have something pushing this high into it, that the legs just relax apart, and then you can feel how the thigh bones nestle into the hip sockets, right? And you could feel the feet, move them around, circle. You might delight in the arm position. Really stay established with the arm position so that you can be on a mission. The arm position helps you be on a mission for the abdominal organ care. So we want to feel that relaxation on the in-breath, belly soft, and on the out-breath back towards the spine. Receiving the pose, maybe closing your eyes, and feel where can you stretch your breath in this container to relax areas that feel tight. So as I in-breath, I want to find, maybe there's a low back situation, low back waist area that feels a little gripped up. Every shape has an assessment, right? If it's even something you value or you want to repeat or remain in. You take a few more moments and just notice what it's like on the block, because we're going to use the ball next. So I want you to feel that the block is supporting you. You can really give all your weight into it. And if there's a circulation kind of dance going on in your digestive tract, let that be a little lively. That's part of the practice sometimes. Changes the flow. And then as you bend through your legs, push a little bit into your wall space if that's what you're using. So I like to kind of press from the balls of the feet and then just feel the base of my footing up, because it's not on the ground, but feel the difference when it's not pushed straight down. But the perspective of the knees is a little different. It's delightful actually to have that shift in the knee. And then pushing into your feet, you're going to lift up the hips, but feel the space, the kind of ratio of tension from right to left side of the shoulder blades. You want to feel this like a shoulder stand, and then you'll just slide that block out. And here we go. We're going to get a ball. If you got a therapy ball, we're going to use that. So I would say just place it at the sacrum. I kind of have to find where does it feel good for me. I just place it around the base of the spine, down to the tailbone. And once I land my weight on the ball, yes, I'm going to use it like a little bit of a shifting trampoline, but I do want to feel my hips start to move side to side, but not just the hip area, the waist area. So if your arms are open in goalpost, you might feel, well, yeah, I have more than hips moving. I've got this whole tundra in the middle, tummy tundra. Okay, so feeling that it moves a little side, and then feeling where you push into the ball, and that gives you that teasing of the tissues. Okay, and as you're motioning side to side, then remember we want the weight to release into the ball. If there's a moment you're really gripping and trying to hold up, if you don't want your feet at the wall, that's fine. I actually didn't intend this to have the feet at the wall for this one, but it feels really good. So I'm going to stay with it. The reason it feels nice is you have more weight into the skin and the surface muscles when your legs are up, right? If I have my feet down, I have to kind of push. Right now, I just lie into it. And movement of my feet steers the movement of the ball on my skin. All up to you. If you want to have your feet at the wall or put them down on the floor of the blanket. And now I want you to shift the ball to the right glute, the right rear. And as you lean into that right rear with the ball there, you're going to move your hips side to side, a little bit more of the tail waggings, not so much the waist, big movement of the waist, but moving your hips. Okay. So when I'm on my back, instead of having the ball right at the sacrum, right here, I move it over to a rear, and it's going to be between the glute maximus all the way to the medius. And since hopefully you're using a ball that's big enough, I mean, you don't want to probably use a golf ball. And a tennis ball would be okay. It'd be the worst thing. But don't use a tennis ball on your sacrum, on the tailbone. No good there. But a softball is just going to have a broader effect on that massage into the skin and the surface muscles, drawing fluid into the tight areas. Meaning, we should probably have a hydration station for this class, huh? All right, so as you mobilize into the hip, feel that touchdown. You might push your right foot off the wall. You might move it off the wall and kind of steer into the hip a different way. You could stretch the leg up. We're going to do figure four in a few moments if you're having a figure four craving. Okay, and then let's move the ball to the tailbone, okay? And then bring the right ankle to the left knee. Hands could be down besides your hips, and then bring the knees in towards your chest. So it's kind of a squeezing and dropping back into this nice blend of hip and inversion, right? Because I got the ball under my pelvis, so now my head is far down. And I'm demonstrating this without a blanket under my head, so it qualifies as more of that reversing and draining, right? That's the idea in inversions. What's so good about them is they have a significant impact on on healing because of their circulation benefits. And you have to get something out of going upside down-ish, huh? So as you're holding, if you don't like the ball under your lower back, you can always lower your left foot and move the ball out and take the same pose. Some days the ball feels good and some days you don't like it. So you could do a little of each, with and without. Squeeze the leg in, the left leg. Breathing. And now shifting. So from the right ankle to left knee, I'm going to shift the foot forward or down on the floor if that's where you have it. And then place the ball to the left rear. And again, you might start with, I actually like that figure 4 with rolling. I like that a lot. So it just depends from side to side. It's likely some differences in the texture or the response in the muscles. So feeling where that pressure goes across, right? You don't want it to be stuck on one spot, even if it's a knot. You want to go sort of to the side of town on the knot, downtown, across town, not stay right on it. And that's why the ball size matters. Okay, so if I move around, I might feel there's only so much. I'm kind of limited to the twist here because I want my upper back firm on the ground. I don't want to take a big twist yet. We're not in twisting mode yet. So feeling when you push into the ball and feel when you go across it. And learning massage is definitely an art because you're trying to find that delicate dance between pressure and movement. And they're both really important to blend the right method of movement into the hip here. So you're feeling the back of the pelvis. And then as you move the ball to the sacrum area, I'm going a little below sacrum about my tailbone. That feels good. And then I keep the left ankle, if you didn't have it, to the right knee. If you were here, left ankle to right knee. You could stay with your foot at the wall or on the floor for this. And you could also guide the knees in towards the chest. It doesn't require you hold the right leg, but it does help, I think. It kind of seals the pose. So you feel like there's a complete direction of energy in the primary hip muscle, right in the inner leg here. So as I'm holding, sourcing for the breath, and feeling where the back is stretching, right? At the tailbone. If you don't have the ball under you, it's just fine. Sometimes that feels really good too. But as I'm pulling, I could kick the right leg up if I feel like. I could keep the knee bending. Yes, it's okay to hold below the knee. Some of us like that. It's a little deeper stretch, but I'm just ultra cautious on knee stuff. This is enough knee movement anyway, isn't it? Gives enough entertaining direction to the flexibility around it. It's plenty. Okay. All right. We are going to start to do a big shift here. So as we let go of the back of that right leg or just lower the foot down, okay, you can do one more sacrum motion, right? You could do a little bit of side to side. I'm just going to let the feet come up. Sometimes having them at the wall feels really safe because you're not tightening so much in your shoulders and neck to hold this one. So noticing where there could be that. And then let's start to bring energy into stretching up the breathing muscles, the chest, the shoulders, the ribs, and the back. So just simply bend through the legs and you're going to roll to a side and put the ball over off of the mat and then take a bolster. And that's kind of what restorative is about, is bolsters, huh? So place a bolster across, and then I would say add a couple blankets, and they might end up being about the height of your bolster. It could be a little lower. You're going to mash them down anyway with the weight of your brain, right? It's going to mash it. So as I let my body settle back onto the bolster, I'm going to have a sandbag. and a block. Okay, so we're going to come into a horizontal chest opener. Have your belt nearby. Okay, have your belt buckled up in a loop. We'll go into that. I lean back, and then as I let my spine feel that initial arch, I'm going to just put the block under the back of my pelvis. You can do other variations instead of this if this feels too just not the right thing for your back. You could do things like fish pose. There's other poses that you can still get the chest opening. And as you lower back, you'll have your head on a blanket stack, and you want space between the bolster and the blanket, right? And I say blanket because some people might go a little bit more opening and have one blanket, right? Yeah, I like that. This feels a little bit easier in my breathing. So I'm going to have like this tiered option. I'm going to add my sand. I like it onto the thigh lids if I'm ready to stretch my legs down, but I'm just not yet. So eventually you might stretch your legs straight down and place the sand across the upper thighs. Okay. If you're not ready for that, your back is not complying with that yet. Just keep it across the rib intersection. And you decide on this blanket height, okay? So when I take an inhale here with my 2 blankets, it's pretty easy. I mean, I don't feel any challenge with my respiratory endurance here. But when I take 1 blanket off and I'm down to just a 1 folded blanket, it's a little longer in breath to get there. So you might I like to use the class for working on my heart, my endurance. I think these are kind of fun tactics that you can do that seem pretty easy and come in handy on the trail. So when I let my shoulders roll back and inwards, they don't go perfectly in, but they're in the zone of moving back. And then I just allow my eyes to rest and receive the circulation now a little higher in the body. So just moving to the upper channels, ribs, chest muscles above the ribs. And feel if you can allow that breath to be rather expansive and pursue that it feels like it moves in the body and kind of loosens up. You know, some areas that might feel really tight and restricted. And if you don't like using sand, don't use it, right? If it just feels like it's too much impact or just not good today, just shed it. No questions asked. And now if you want to stretch the legs down, you're just kind of waiting for the moment. This might be a good time. Shoulders drawing back is only going to help the feeling in the mid to low back. So if your mid and low back feels a little bit of challenge there, remember, chest opens. Now, this area might be, a little restricted from daily posture. So give it the opportunity to spread out. Okay, now feel where the back of the skull touches down. A little bit of just natural lift with your chin. I don't want you to try to exaggerate and lift your head off the blanket or anything like that, but just relax the weight of your head on the support, whether it's 1 or 2 blankets, whatever works for you. It's your practice. Okay, scan, there's the front space that's kind of lifted. And now we're going to work on moving into the side space. Actually, let's do a little inversion before. I want to keep on track. So we're going to keep working the circulation to this lung force. Okay, we're going to do a couple of kind of lung force practices. So if you got sand on the ribs, remove it. Okay, So reinforcing this, walk your feet in, and then ever so slight movement of the bolster. So go down to one blanket, that's key. When you start to move back, make sure the blanket's not under your shoulders, okay? Then I'm gonna go onto the balls of the feet, so heels lift. I'm only gonna move my knees out so they're a little more comfy. Push into my feet, and I like to slide back and then push the bolster down to the back of the pelvis, and then bring the feet up. I gotta reset my blanket, it went too far under my neck. And then grab a hold of your belt. That's what I meant. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of this zone of lung force, hip, and then we'll go into the side channels. Okay, so scoop up your feet in a belt loop. You gotta buckle up. Okay, so as I buckle up, and I'm already buckled, I'm going to push my feet out, and I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller of a loop. I can kind of feel how my hip is responding. It's not just the leg part, hip part, kind of where that connects. It's also gonna, there's attachments everywhere. I love all these attachments, which is a good day if they're all attached. But you wanna feel like, okay, the bolster is supporting the width of the pelvis. This is great. And the back, arching. So when I push out with the feet, I've got to be a little careful that my back arch is synchronized, right, with the movement of my legs. Okay, the only reason I want you to try this one is I'm going to come up and sit and show you a variation that we're working on by being on our back. So when you have the wide stance, your back arch is already, you got it, okay? Your legs are out. This is a good way to practice forward bends on an inversion. So if I'm sitting and I'm trying to do a wide reach like this, just for example, maybe I don't have a block here. It's hard for most of us to keep our back in the natural arch, right? This is tough. It's a tough one. Most people you'll see are gonna go like that, right? So this way, we use our bolster and we're getting all those benefits. Isn't that nice? And we don't have to be uncomfortable and forceful with our breathing muscles and our tightness, and that's just life, right? Body stiffen up. Okay, so with the feet reaching out, I want you to find where the knees bend, just by naturally bending them. You don't have to hold your belt, but you certainly could. If you like to do that, you can hold your belt. And let the legs move a little side to side, get a little touch down into the back of the pelvis, into the hip source, rocking the legs side to side. Not too far over, because it won't be the best thing for my back if I lean my foot to the floor. But I'm just rocking to get some heat into that lower back tract. So if seated poses are hard for you, like you can't keep your spine tall, you can't keep the curves of your back and the upper back up, then you might do, this will be your practice for back here. Okay, that's okay. So bend through the legs, grab the belt, and slide the feet together. Okay. Lower the left leg. If the block is bugging you, you can kick it aside. And you're going to grasp a hold of your belt. Let's just go both hands just because it's kind of initiating one leg at a time. So as I reach with that right foot and I'm pulling, then I'm sending energy right through the calf and maybe into your hamstring. If you're lucky, you'll get both. Okay, now lead your way, so feeling a little bend of the knee and feel what it's like to try to lengthen it up. Again, another thing that's probably better on your back than seated forward, because that tends to hyperextend a lot, right? So, I don't know, being on your back doing these poses sounds like a better idea for our posture, huh? Kind of cool. Okay, now enough heat into the leg on the back line. Cross the leg over by grasping a hold of the belt with your left hand. And then I just move my right leg over to the left. And as I cross over, let the bottom leg bend. Give it plenty of ease. So when the bottom leg is bendy, it's kind of interesting that the rib cage tries to stay in its width by moving the right arm out. If you got clutter in your side yard, just kind of shift it for your benefit. right? It's of serious benefit to yourself, right? And to others, right? When you take care of yourself. So feeling where the waist stays centered, belly button towards ceiling, right leg over to the left. Bend the right knee, take the leg back on up, bring the left foot up into the belt and just switcheroo. Right foot down, right leg down. Hold onto the belt, of course, with both hands. But you might decide to walk your hands up. You might decide just to slide them down. Yeah. Kind of maybe close your eyes and just, as long as the belt is on your foot, it doesn't slip off and drop on your face. But you want to kind of feel the movement of the foot, maybe by pulling on the belt. Just feel movement. They get stepped on an awful lot, so they could use the love, the foot love. So a little bit of motion. And then as you're holding, let your head relax, maybe nod it a little side to side. Yeah, direct traffic in the leg. And you might try to stretch that leg up a little bit, like you're almost pushing through the ball of the foot. And then take the hold of the belt with just the right hand and cross the left leg on over to the right side. Yeah, and the bottom leg, right leg's got to bend. I mean, maybe somebody, that's in this right now prefers the bottom leg straight. I could see a world for that too, but I just like to kind of easily coax the movement in my, in the muscles and in the joint capsule, kind of just feel, you don't have to know all the, pristine anatomy knowledge, but you got to find a way to be in your body, right? That's the key, huh? Whatever the parts are called, but you want to feel, okay, I got a leg when I cross over. What about the leg is affecting my motor skills, really, right? My hip socket, movement in my back. So if it feels better for you to bend your left knee a little more, go for it. If it feels better to move the leg straight back up, that's great too. Okay, so feeling the breath. Navel towards the ceiling. That could be the thing you need to focus on so you don't roll over. We'll eventually roll over. Okay, now bending through the leg, we're going to come back up and we'll just take the belt off our left foot and we'll bring the knees into the chest-ish, kind of towards the chest, and take a ball or a block. If you don't have a ball nearby and it rolled away, you don't have to worry about it. You can just use a block in between the knees at the most narrow setting. I don't feel like you got to get up and get it. That happens. So if you got the ball or a block at the narrow setting, center of the knees, feeling where the hip, it's kind of like a cage too, right? You got the rib cage, you got the hip cage, but you're creating this cage, right? You're squeezing into the ball somewhat. Work to what works for your response in your body as you squeeze. So you bring the knees to let them go side to side. And as I cross over, feel the touch into the bolster. This is why I like doing some of these motions with a prop under you. You don't have to. You can do all these without the bolster. And you can just be on the mat and do all these exercises, all of them. I like the bolster because it brings the energetics of inversion, makes me drain a little bit more. If you listen to somebody doing this work on the bolster, they're going to sound kind of nasally, like they're congested because of all that flushing. So some of us might find this is helpful. If you are congested, you probably would want to do these flat on the ground because it's not going to make it easier. But if you're not, this is a good way to keep things flowing. And also I can feel my body touch a little bit more with the bolster. Feel the back touching it, the back of the pelvis. Okay, last one set. Just go across if you want to go fast for a few moments or go really slow. It's a hip, it's a back, and it's another hip. 2 sides. Okay, now last time you go across, come into the middle and lift the feet a little bit, just the right amount, shoulders back, squeeze the ball. See if you can energetically squeeze it as much as possible. And activate that pelvic floor, especially upside down, reversing that flow, opposite of prolapse here in the groins. Right, everything goes with gravity as we live a little longer. But now opposite, squeeze. I don't think I can squeeze anymore. That's about it. And then relax the grip. Okay, take the ball out, move it over to the left, not too close to the bolster. You don't want to roll on it. And you're going to let the knees draw over to the left side and roll into your hip. And then as you go over, keep the knees still up a little bit so it's not so hard on your back. And then roll. Watch out for that block if it's there, and just shift down on the bolster and come off of the bolster. Okay. All right. So we're still here. We got a bolster across the mat, and we're going to grab a blanket stack here on the other side of the bolster. And now we're going to get to the side. Okay. So we got this gap. This is really important. And I guess having too big of a gap isn't good either. So maybe you have to kind of figure out your gap. Okay. So the block goes on the other side. I'm going to get a sandbag. And be careful, right? How you slug these things around. Sometimes it's good to just put it on the corner of my bolster. So when I bring it up to my side, it's just easier on my muscles. So the right leg stretches back. So we're basically in what we call sage pose, or some schools call it deer pose. Some call it external rotation, internal rotation. So you're just stretching the right leg back and placing a ball under the inner leg. Now, if stretching it back is hurting your knee at all, don't do it. You can have your knees stacked over to the left side, or you can have it reaching the leg back. Okay. So what feels better is the one to do. Whether it's going to be more beneficial and it hurts, then you don't do it. Okay. So some of us, the knees have to be together some days. It might be that day. So if I'm reaching with the sand on my side, I kind of like this side just across it so it never falls off. And you might find it's okay to put it onto the ribs because it is a lovely connection for your breathing muscles to just kind of lengthen this area out. I always think this feels really good, this area to get kind of massaged and stretched out, and that doesn't happen much, so this is about it, right? So I'm going to use a sandbag on my weight on the side body, right? And this is what I'm stretching. So what a great idea. Just put a sandbag there. And then as I stretch the arm overhead, I'm going to land on a block. If you need 2 blocks here, you can always have a second one. And you don't have to use the block at all. You can have your right hand resting down on the left hand or on top of the bolster. But maybe you can see how this gap thing is important, right? So I'm going to pull my blanket in a little bit closer. I just feel more comfy then. Okay, my neck is trying to relax. If my blanket's too low, I can just fold it one more, relaxing my neck. But see if you can kind of reach your neck up the blanket and then relaxing your chin down and breathe. It's okay to let your head just turn and rest into the blanket. Okay, feeling that side body reaching. And it's fine if that upper arm, the right arm, just moves a little bit. Maybe you have your hand on your shoulder and you're just getting some motion. Maybe the arm ends up resting on your side, even on the sandbag. Receiving your breath and relaxing on your out breath. What is that? Is that about letting your head relax? To me, that's where I have to work on this one, is to let go in the neck. Feeling now that the energy's kind of entered in towards the spleen, right? All this kind of life force on that left side, right? Some of those organs, right? You might even notice a pulse in that area. So let's kind of squeeze into it for a few moments. You might be able to keep your sand on. I'm not very capable of that, but I'm just going to drop it. Okay, so turn to the left and turn your bolster up on top. If you need a blanket, take away the ball so the legs are closer. So my right leg is resting on the left foot, or I rested a little closer to my left leg. Twist. So I'm going to get a feeling I was on this side. Now I'm going to just turn a little bit, like I'm moving my navel towards the bolster. Sleeping sage, my head turns to the right, and I just relax. So if you want a blanket on top of the bolster, go for it. I'm okay with this. This feels fine for me. But if you decide you want a little more contour with the neck, kind of makes sense actually, right? You could put a towel, or you could put one of your blankets there. It'll be a brief kind of intermission between sides. This is what we'll call the intermission between the sage pose, the side sage. To feel that squeeze, just the right amount. It's not too much. It's not the deepest of twists, but it's a twist you can relax into. That's the difference from some of the seated poses. And it kind of leads you into your hip world. Relax across the upper back, the shoulders. Couple more breaths, feel the ribs. I feel kind of the breathing muscles in my upper back. I know we are quite the machines, aren't we, in there? Okay, now slide the hands so they're about under the shoulder-ish. And then when you come on up, take a mellow up dog. Turn the bolster back to across the mat, horizontal, mellow up dog. So I'm just going to lean into my belly. I'm going to push a little bit away from the wall because I'm too close. And I'm going to roll to the belly like tummy time. And I'm going to place my elbows down and push into my feet. And so I'm using the wall a little bit. Now, you don't have to, but you can also push more. Some of us might be feeling like, nope, I'm going to come all the way up into kind of like they call this seal pose, right? In yin yoga, which it does kind of look a little bit like a seal pose, doesn't it? So pressing and reaching, or if you're finding, I don't want my hands to push like that, you're here. Okay, you're just stretching the front body. Okay, so give a few moments. If your hands are reaching out in more of a seal, arching through the spine, stretching through the psoas, such an interesting hip flexor reach. If you could push the wall, that's a nice little feedback loop into the thigh span. And then belly soft. Okay, now cruise into the side. So I'm going to lower down. I'm going to push, and then I'm going to turn to my right hip, kind of easeful. And then I'm just going to guide my hip right up next to the bolster. I got that gap here between the bolster and the blankets. No big deal. Add my sand on my bolster, so it's easy. Left leg back. And then on to the second side. Okay. On to the inner work on my right side, on my liver side. So I'm going to press. Again, this one, feel that kind of pulse in those areas. Takes a little time to get in the pose. You're not going to feel like, oh my gosh, I feel the circulation in the organ. It's going to take some time. And it's simply that energetic reach, right? So this is up to you. If you want to reach your arm, you can still put sand on your side without reaching your arm. Sometimes the most basic action can be the best, right? So you might find when you're leaning into it, your left arm is reaching, And it could mean opening to the left and back. Who knows? Maybe it's reaching over to the right side and resting on the right arm. But the side of my head, so this side I tend to roll a little bit on the back of the skull. That feels pretty comfy for me. It just feels kind of nice on my neck. But so if you notice, if you try to push into your head on the down into the ear, and that actually feels more tense, just try rolling a little bit on it. Kind of feel the delicate move of the neck. Right? It's a fairly essential part of your existence. So just play with that reach of the left arm. Left hand might touch down on the block. And then find the lines of energy where the right hip is getting all this weight bearing. So for some of us, we put a pad under the hip, like, oh, we double mats, because it does put quite a bit of weight into the bones, okay, which is a good thing, but sometimes it just doesn't feel great. So if it's a good thing to put the weight on it and have that resistance, that's one thing. But if it's painful, then just pad it up. Sometimes moving the knee closer to the bolster is somewhat helpful with that position in the hip. But as the spine arches, breathe. Let the weight of your head relax. So where else can you feel the breath moving up through the side body into the armpit chest? It doesn't mean like you're breathing there, but you're filling up and it's going through each of the intercostals, no matter how you look at it. So it's going to be expanding through those secondary respiratory muscles. The left arm is going to open, maybe, maybe not. Maybe you drop it towards the floor. That's all right. Okay, this is nice to go through the cycle to go to the sleeping stage, the twist. So I just move the sand off. And I turn to the right. And then when I rotate, I just turn my bolster and then I just pivot. Okay, so my pivoting is to have no ball under my left knee. My left thigh rests onto my right foot, or it's higher up onto the thigh like a fetal position. And then as I turn, you're using a little bit of, leverage when you push into the floor, but I want you to try to go with gravity. So it's a little more safe on our back, our spine. So I just lean into it. I let my head turn to the left and then I just relax. So my arms could reach up over the blankets. They could go out. I've seen some people bring the arms back by their sides. Okay. Yes, you might play with it, especially if you're not sanded. You can just orient your arms a little bit out, a little bit forward, a little bit back, and then settle the weight of your head on the bolster, or if you have a blanket on top, and breathe. Okay, now pressing into your hip. Kind of notice, do you push hip and then chest, or just hip and then hands, okay? So as I press, this time I come up, bring the left thigh on the right thigh, and then come back to center. Okay, now we're centering on our hands, knee area. So instead of being forceful on hands, I want you to turn your bolster up on top of your blankets. Okay, you might have to pull the blankie bolster stack in a little bit. Okay, and then hands on top and reach out through the arms. So you're going to stretch through the arms. You're not really hands free on it because they are reaching, but you're not pushing pressure on your wrist. You're not like this force. So continuing that reach through the arms, the upper channels of the body. Let your head lean down. If this is feeling a little too vulnerable for your neck, you can put a block under your forehead. This can be kind of nice. Okay. All right. So we're going to take our next few motions. We're going to go back to inversion. This will be our third cycle of it, which will be nice. So when we have that reach, okay. Now when you come back, hands on ground. If you're our hand on ground averse, we're going to make our way back to the wall. So I want you to find an ability here. Now push the bolster blanket thing away so you'll have enough space to take a wide stance on your mat. You'll find out. Toes under, lift up the knees. You can take a downward dog of choice, which might mean heels up at the wall. That might put a lot into your arm energy, like too much, so you can always make your way back to a forward bend. So let's just say this is okay for a second, but let's get out of it. You can walk your feet a little bit away from the wall and then bring your hands back to your feet and then let your seat touch the wall and hold onto your elbows and traction the back. Okay, so find this inversion medley that you want to choose. So for some of us, again, we might stay in downward dog a little longer and feel that energy of the full back reaching. It's an energetic reach though, right? It's a little more of a composition of strength and flexibility weaved really deeply, right, in a down dog. Okay? And then eventually I want you to come back to that standing forward fold. Doesn't mean you have your seat at the wall, but it's kind of helpful. Okay? And then hands holding the elbows. Or arms dangling. Okay, let your head nod a little side to side. Feel your head turning. Feel the head nodding. Okay, and then bending your knees. And carefully, when you come up, I put your hands just above the knees. Stretch your chest forward, go slow. Don't get kicked off from the wall. You want to use the wall to support you. Let your hips reach back and then bring your arms forward. So try a chair pose with your hips reaching back to the wall. This is always fun. I mean, chair poses are, really good for us to do for our balance and our bones, but not like we get excited to do 10 chair poses a day or chair stands. But when you reach your rear back, you want to just feel it touch the wall and stretch your arms way away. Hinge at the hips. Hip hinging, right? This should be where you're hinging, not your back rounding. Okay. Now, push into your heels and come on up. You're a little lightheaded. Remember, push into your feet. Firm it up. Firm up through the body. Okay, and just bring your left hand to your left hip, and you're going to stretch the right arm over to the left side. Just a moment here when we get the sides to lengthen. Bring your right hand to your right hip, stretch the left arm over to the right side. Just simple side stretch. Okay. Now let's turn. So we're going to have the right foot near the wall. Okay, and you're going to take a wide stance. So you're going to bring your right foot. I'm just going to step it to the wall. I don't mind pushing my foot to the wall. But my feet are parallel-ish or they're turning in. It's either one is fine. We just don't want them turning out. And so when I reach down through my leg muscles, right, I can feel the thigh bones in this different orientation, right? They're not straight under. So when I hinge at my hips, this is where we start to work on that volume of control here in our core, our balance. So hands could be on our hips And I would say just bring your hands down the legs. Now I like to have a block here because I'm a fan of using the block to get started. So reach to a block if possible, or two. If you have two, even better, huh? And then when the hands are onto that block, you're going to feel the hips stretching back. Feel the arch through the spine. Breathe. My feet are not going to turn out any. I'm not trying to let that happen with gravity as I move down. So you've got to tone the legs. So pull up the thigh bones. Try to get the skin above the knee to stretch up like you're contracting in your quads. And then you're going to try to lower down maybe. Now, some of us going downwards might be block goes lower, and that's fine. And you can let your hips move a little bit back. So a little nano bend of the knees would be ideal. Little tiny bend. Okay, now when you bend the knees, you can't pull the thighs up anymore, right? I can't suck up the quad now. It's the opposite. But that might be easier on my back. Okay. Now you can hold on to the ankles, but again, there's no requirement. It just is nice for balance work. It's great to work on our balance. And then lower your head towards the floor. Now you don't need to take the curve out of your back here if you don't want to. So I know curve is better for my back issues. So I'm going to hold on to the ankles and keep the arch in my spine. Some of you might be really comfortable with crown of the head towards the floor, with hands on the ground even. Crown of the head towards the floor. Still. Okay, take a moment longer. Maybe close your eyes and just kind of feel the circulation in the legs and then all the way to the face. Right? You can feel that blood flow to the face. Okay, bend the knees enough. If your hands are on the ankles, take them off the ankles. And I would say start to turn to your left. So you're going to turn to a lunge with your left foot forward away from the wall. And yeah, don't lunge. You could lunge into the wall. Like if you decide I want to do my lunges into the wall, if this is too far downwards, let me show you a version that you can do. Okay, so this would be away from the wall. Heel is up. I'm going to go high up on my blocks. And I'm kind of on a mid-height lunge. Now, some of you might decide I'm going to go higher in my lunge. I'm going to bring my hands to my hips. I'm going to bring my arms up. Let's say you want to lunge, but you just don't like this whole idea of down on the block thing. You could lunge with the wall. Have your left foot forward, push into the wall. This is good. I like this a lot. This just might feel like a stronger connection into your back. You can always try it. You can do a little of each. It's only 2 legs. Only 2 sides to try. Okay. So we're using a wall or not using a wall. You're using a wall regardless, right? Because you have a foot at the wall. Okay. So now establish that reach into the left heel and then step the right foot forward and switch sides, whether your hands are at the wall or your heel is at the wall. Switch the lunge. Take a moment where that right thigh is bending into its reach. So from the sitting bone to the knee bone, there's a reach for the hip and the femur. It's great. I think it is. Okay. So feel that motion forward into the hip, into the foot from the hip. Okay, if you're going to do a little of each, remember you can come to the wall, you can spontaneously move back and push into your hands and feel how the upper body supports the balance in this moment. I love that stretch in my calf. That feels good. Okay. All right. Now, feeling, that makes me miss the bone therapy class we used to have. Maybe we should do one of those a month or something. We could schedule them out and see if people would want to do that. That's not too much to ask for, maybe. Some of you like it. Okay, now come on down. So left knee down, right leg back. If you're at the wall with your hands, come on down. So you're going to join us into a little tummy time. So grab a bolster and let's go tummy time. Okay, So bolster lengthwise, I'm going to push it away from the wall so I can bring my knees out wide. Now, knees wide is really important on this. Right, that's not going to be good on your back if your knees are together. So I'm going to push forward, bring my elbows down, flat on the ground, no blankie. If you need to lie on your blankets, that's okay. And then feel the elbows, but also feel the formula of movement with your breath. So you can let your head tilt down a little bit. Maybe close your eyes and feel what's touching into the bolster. Feel the composure of the organs. You have kind of the dance of life force in there. That's getting some massage. Okay, now if your feet are to the wall, or let's say you have your tops of your feet on the floor, push it a little bit away. Okay, so I'm just feeling the balls of the feet at the wall. If it's tightening in your low back, then you probably are too close to the wall. Just know that. If you're tightening here in the low back, in the back side of the back, right, side muscles, you're too close. So lift up the chest, elbows stay down. Slide the hands back under the shoulders, lift up the chest, because it just drops, doesn't it? It just doesn't want to stay there. Use your breath wave, shoulders back. That's probably enough, isn't it? Inhale. And exhale. Arms stretch straight back. Try to lift your chest again. And center. Okay, let's bring our hands to press down. We're going to come up through a little bit of an up dog here. Chest lifting, belly stretching. Okay, notice the belly kind of motion. And then let's come back to table. Round the back into cat pose, chin to chest. Arch the spine. And then round the back into cat. Chin to chest. That includes the movement of the head. Walk your hands back. Okay, now move your bolster. So it is going to be right at the knees. And you want to have this distance between your foot and the knee. And that's about where your bolster is going to be. About. This is old Iyengar measurements. We measure it this way. Okay. That's a pretty good one because it's going to be measured for you, your size. I mean, your length. It's all going to be about you. It's not about me. My measurement's going to be different than yours. And you're going to take a seat on the bolster and you're going to bring your feet to the other side. Okay. Suddenly I want this bolster to be higher. It must have something to do with gravity. I'm not so sure. It's kind of funny. I want a little more height. Okay. So let's have a seat. Now, if you reach back to the wall, you should just kind of, you can touch it, but you're not too close. Okay, now, if you can't touch the wall, you just move your bolster a little bit back. I don't want you to be too close because it's too much on the shoulder joint. Okay, so I'm sitting away from turning the other direction, away from the wall. I'm going to need a sandbag. Just going to put over here on my right side. I'm going to need a ball because I like ball support for my knee, and a block. So as I'm sitting away from the wall, I'm going to now pivot on my right thigh and turn towards the wall, and my right foot is touching to the left inner leg. Okay, now I'm going to try to get my left leg to stretch out, but that's about it. That seems reasonable for my hips. So I've got to kind of feel for myself. In fact, when I did this yesterday, my leg went out quite a bit and it felt really easy, but right now it's just earlier. So not going to go there. So I'm going to put a ball under my left knee, and that's good. That's a good elasticity here for my low to mid back. That's fine because I have to reach out with the leg and organize here. So have a sandbag on your right thigh. You're already turning to the wall. You're already there. So turn. Now, if you want to, like, for instance, the block would go under the knee, but my bolster's under my leg. So I don't really need the block, but you can always have a block under your knee. I don't have any place for it. So left hand holds the right leg. And that means it could be below the knee or above the knee or on the knee. And you're going to turn and take a moment where you roll that right shoulder back. It doesn't need to be down and into the spine, but feeling some heat in the armpit, chest, in the shoulder. If it's all top of the shoulder and around and you can't really feel the armpit area stretching, you might just turn the right hand back so you kind of do the arm clock. So you're moving your arm and your hand. This is probably the one thing that's a little bit of a epiphany for me when we learn this, is that it's called arm clock. It's not called hand clock, right? It's shoulder and arm clock. They had to call it shoulder arm clock. So I'm trying to move my shoulder and my arm, not just my hand. And then as we breathe, we feel the arches through the spine. My left foot's trying to reach, but it's not perfect. It might pivot in. I'm just trying to flex it. Okay, now bring your right hand to the small of your back. So I'm just going to reach out through my palm, kind of touch my right side of my back, and then bring my left arm to my left leg and just lean into it and keep my ribs lifting, and that's plenty. Okay, I'm not going to try to put my head on my knee, although we know that's the pose, but we're giving some element of honoring the pose. It's a pretty good one, but I'm done with head to knee stuff. So stretching through the waist, breathing. Remember, the hand on the side is important here to help elongate that side body. Okay, and then come on it straight up through the crown of your head. Okay, and then turn forward. And let's just simply take a simple cross-legged. So I'm going to put a block under my left foot. I'm just centering my hips here. Block under left foot and lean forward into that left hip. Now keep it super simple here. Like meaning we're not going full pigeon, but it is pigeon material, right? There was some recent study done on pigeon, and I'm going to hold off on pigeon until I read the whole thing, and then I'll send it off to you. But I'm not so sure I think about that now. So I'm going to just do these basics, this basic energy of moving in the hip, not pushing my knee down. You could do pigeon with your seat on the bolster. That's pretty darn safe for the knee, but let's just see where the study's gone. So come on up and let the right leg stretch out. My left foot doesn't stay on the block, but I attempted to do that. Left foot down, and then I'm going to turn. So I'm going to turn before I get my sand on. So I'm going to turn to my left, so my left thigh is on the bolster, right? That's why I don't need the block. And then when I pivot, you could cheat on this one. You could pivot a lot and then not have to stretch your shoulder much, but you could put a ball under your right knee or not. If your leg is stretching out, you don't like the ball. And then take your time. Remember the lumbar, this lower 5 vertebrae, you want to keep those in their nice arch, the plump vertebrae. And then in the middle, that's where you do the turn. That's the turn in the abdominals. So my right hand to left knee, can feel that arch. Lift up the chest, reach to the wall. I'll just take a few moments here. Now, if your foot is reaching, or your leg is reaching, I guess, and your foot. Yeah, it might take your breath away a little bit. I think that's a sign of something good is happening. When you feel that a little vigorous motion in your breathing muscles. And then bring the left hand to the back and let the right arm reach to the right leg and lean into that right side and stretch out through the side coat of your waist to that left rib cage. Breathing. Now, use that left hand to kind of slide on that left side of the back and help you come up. Right? I mean, you could always do these with an arm reaching, it's no problem, but sometimes it's good just to feel the energy of the motion in all these parts, right? The side parts, we'll call it. And then we come up, we try to get the spine to lift on its own. It's good to do seated work, right? Because it's a little more advanced for the situation, right? In the inner body, in the muscles, the balance of them. So right foot onto the block, you could be sand free. You don't have to leave your sand on, but if it's not bothering you, you might keep it on. You could put a ball under your left knee. And as you lean forward, kind of feel that energy through the inner leg. We're doing this purposely because we're going to do outer leg in the final few motions here. So inner leg focus, groins, leg pits. And now come on up, right leg, actually, we'll stay with the right leg. So take the sand off, coming down off the bolster, and let's do this. Let's completely target what we're on. So we're gonna move our bolster to the left side of our mat. Okay, we're gonna move on to our back. I'd say use a blanket under your head for this, probably a smart idea. You can use a ball at the tailbone. So what we're gonna do is have our right leg, since we had it this way, we're gonna cross it over onto the bolster on the left side of your mat. You can tuck the ball to the tailbone area if that feels kind of like a happy support. And then you can add carefully the sand. I would be slow. Just slide it onto that right thigh if you do indeed use it. And then stretch your right arm open and let your head roll to the right. Yeah, this is a great study in your back awareness, right? Not just the twisty in the ribs and the abdominal muscles, but feeling how you respond. The bottom left leg right now is all bendy for me. It's bending, so it helps out my rotation ease, just eases up think about the ribs as a steering wheel. Okay. Yeah, a little bit of resistance on the breathing muscles when you twist, right? When you inhale, it might be a little shorter of a breath. Working on endurance for the breathing muscles. Do a little self-check-in if you need to roll your shoulder down. If there's any extra pull anywhere, just take a moment. Feel what you can do. Maybe you need to let the bottom leg be a little straighter for your back. It may be different for you. Great, now move the sand. I would say just put it onto your core if that kind of gives you a little bit of pressure there of centering. So when I move the ball, I just carefully roll into my back. Slow go. Got a block over here, so I'm gonna move it aside and then I'm gonna move the bolster to the right side with my hands. You could use your feet to move it over or your hands. And make sure it's enough distance from your mat that you can actually swing the leg over to it. You don't want to have the bolster, right next to your knee where you have to, it's in your way to make the pose happen. So, yeah, props are in the way. Okay, so sand on the outer left thigh and maybe a ball. This is a maybe for people. Some people are not a fan of this for this pose. It's not a significant player. It's just a support. It's like maybe that sensation of it anchors your pelvis. Left leg is over. If I can't quite get my leg to rest on the bolster, I can put a blanket on top of the bolster or like a block. So you might be surprised at having something on top can kind of make it a little bit more easeful. Yes, that feels good. That feels pretty good on my back, actually. With a little more space in my back. I might leave it. Okay, let your arm open on that left side and breathing. Let the shoulder roll down and under, opening into the heart. Scan the body for where you could fine tune the end of your practice. So you might decide to bring your legs up the wall with a bolster under your pelvis. That could be really satisfying. But you can also make a bolster bench and put your 2 blocks under your bolster and let your legs rest on that. That might feel like, I think I want to go there. We've done a lot of upside downness today, so you might be feeling, if you're a little woozy and you haven't even stood up after class, you might decide on that. So I'll instruct as to going to the wall for this one. So I'm going to come around, bring my knees to my chest, hug them, roll to the side, and then I'm going to take a bolster and place it at the wall. Now, again, you could place your bolster under your feet and not under your pelvis. Okay, totally up to you. Okay, so as I come up to the wall with my rear, I've got my sandbag nearby, and I'm going to put my seat to the wall and then roll on the sacrum to come up. You do have to kind of do a little sacrum roll to get up. You know, as I have my blankie, one is enough. You definitely don't want too much bulk under your head at all. And then as I add my sand, I'm going to place it at the soles of my feet. Maybe you decide to have no sand if you kind of like to have your feet free, but it is a nice support for draining, right? It's going to speed that up a little bit for the lymph. Okay, now I'm a fan right now, lately, having a little space from the wall with the bolster. I just have a little space between the bolster and the wall. I'm kind of liking that. There's all kinds of ways of doing legs up. And in the moment, find what's inspiring. And if the sand is actually feels good for your back to have that reverse pressure opposite your back, it might be just what you need. So with the arms open and spacious, whatever your legs are up on, see if you can broaden the movement of the breath across that lower back. So feel what touches the floor or the bolster, because both of them are being touched, whether you have your legs up on the bolster bench or your legs are up the wall. There's still two parts of there's three parts of my back, right? And circulation wise through the spine, but also the difference in the curves. But really kind of let that upper back release. Let your head nod side to side. And then merge the motion of inhale, belly full, and then exhale, relaxing back towards the spine. Even if there's an image that comes to mind, noticing that. Maybe a scooping, maybe a kind of centering, resting into the back space. Your legs up can be a significant impact on healing in many ways, right? So it could be something you do to help yourself get ready for rest, for sleep, to ease your back, to get your legs up and let it drain all that fluid in the bottom of our body. Gotta go somewhere. The best thing to do is to move it this direction, and it moves down to the organs of elimination. That's the way to go. It can't go out of your feet, right? Okay, now the next few moments, if you've got a sandbag, you're going to carefully remove it. So you'll move your feet off the wall, you'll bend your legs, and then just move a sandbag. And then still, you got your legs lifting. So you can hug the back of the legs with the arms. You can rock a little side to side. And you can also let the legs go back up at the wall, right? So if you need to stay here a little longer, do so. If it's starting to get really tingly, right, you know it's about time to shift out. That means all the blood's moved out of that area. That you've done your job. And then as you bend through the legs, you're going to shift your knees over to one side and then shift your torso and your shoulders and your head, and then come up. You can stay there a little longer on your side, but take a moment to find your seat and your hips and bring your shoulders to a forward motion and then upwards and back. Letting your eyes settle and just scanning that sense of sitting again. Hands reach up to your heart center. Let's unite our breath, breathing in wellness to yourself, to others. And with our exhales, bowing into the